Alright, which one should you pick if you're planning to get one out of these 4 phones from Xiaomi and Poco? There are some similarities, and that for sure, but at the very core I can sort of feel that they're built for different types of users. Now, which one's better than which in what ways? Everyone right here. So this video will be mainly divided into 3 different major sections. 1. What are the sacrifices made here on the Xiaomi 17T compared to the Pro? 2. At a similar price range, the Poco F8 Ultra and the Xiaomi 17T Pro, which one should you really get? And 3. Is the Xiaomi 17 Ultra really is better than the Xiaomi 17T Pro, and by how much? Now I'll be trying to give my best answers to all these 3 questions, and let's find out. First and foremost, the screen sizes and dimensions. We're looking at a massive 6.9-inch display on both the F8 Ultra and the 17 Ultra, making them the Ultras. A marginally smaller 6.83-inch display here on the 17T Pro, though in my opinion they do look and feel almost the same in day-to-day use, leaving the Xiaomi 17T being the smaller, more compact phone here, having a 6.59-inch display. Now, even the most affordable Xiaomi 17Ts actually got the capability to display 12-bit color depth with Dolby Vision and HDR10+ support. As you can see here, I've actually put all 4 of them side by side. In terms of color tuning, color reproduction, and color accuracy, they do look almost the same. They're practically the same, which makes the 17T really stands out when it comes to value for money. It's also worth noticing, on the spec sheet, the display can actually go all the way up to 3500 nits across the board, so that apparently is only meant for a smaller area of the display when playing back HDR content, as we've got around 3200 nits here on the entire display on the Poco F8 Ultra. Similar figures here on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad figure at all, it's actually a rather remarkable one. And really similar figures here on the Xiaomi 17T Pro, bravo. Last but not least, even the 17T is hitting about 2700 nits, so outdoor visibility is not a problem at all across the board. On the contrary, if you're scrolling along your IG or watching a YouTube video before getting to sleep, now what really captured my eyeballs is here. They've introduced DC dimming across the Poco F8 Ultra, Xiaomi 17 Ultra and 17T Pro, not the 17T. Now, as I'm dialing the shutter speed of my camera to about 3000ths of a second, we're not getting any sort of flickering effect across the Poco F8 Ultra, 17 Ultra and the Xiaomi 17T Pro. So if you're looking for the phone with the absolute best display for your eyes, I believe you've got a pretty clear answer. Though when it comes to colors and how they do look almost the same, to be absolutely honest. Another minor difference which might or might not be affecting your day-to-day experience is we're having an optical in-screen fingerprint sensor on the Xiaomi 17T Pro and the 17T, while we're actually getting a more advanced ultrasonic one on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra and the Poco F8 Ultra, making them the Ultras again. Now, the 17T and the 17T Pro actually scans my fingerprint with no problem, though I sort of feel that it does require a few more milliseconds to get my fingerprint read. While you can get even faster than that on the Poco F8 Ultra and the 17 Ultra, it's almost like it's unlocking the phone even before I'm touching it. Joking, it's just really fast. Right, other than the display and the cameras, the speakers here are actually worth a few seconds listening to as well. As we've got a 2.1 channel speaker setup here on the Poco F8 Ultra, it absolutely blows everything away. Just compare it to the Xiaomi 17T. Right, you're not getting the bass and the volume, though it's a great dual speaker setup. Now, the T Pro is actually slightly better. Now, even more volume and bass on the 17 Ultra. Alright, here it comes to the biggest highlight of this video. Without a doubt, the 17 Ultra should be having the best camera system across the board, though by how much? Now, the interesting bit is Xiaomi is actually giving the same 5x periscope telephoto lens for both the Xiaomi 17T and the T Pro. Now, the Poco F8 Ultra is actually sharing really similar camera hardware as the 17T Pro. How do they actually compare when it comes to day-to-day photography? As we all know, software and color tuning do matter. With that said, we do have Leica optics and Leica's touch when it comes to color tuning on the 17T and the 17T Pro. The 17 Ultra for sure, as we're looking at the exact same carousel of Leica filters and color profile across the 3 Xiaomi devices here. Not on the Poco, which is absolutely making sense. Now, I've actually taken a whole set of photos using all built-in filters across the 17T Pro and the 17 Ultra. They actually looked almost identical to each other, more similar than I thought it would be. Of course, we'll be dealing with slight variance when it comes to HDR, light rendering and color reproduction. So the look and feel, the vibe of the photos are basically the same, you've got my idea. And moment of truth, without Leica's magic touch, Xiaomi is giving similar hardware to the Poco F8 Ultra as on the Xiaomi 17T Pro. So without looking really deep into color reproduction and color tones, we could be actually looking at really similar ultra long-range zoom capabilities. We're actually having the same 5x periscope telephoto lens on even the Xiaomi 17T as well. All three of them are based on the 15 megapixels sensor, however, compared to the 200 megapixels one on the 17 Ultra. So we're having the same AI zoom feature here across the board, which you can toggle on and off for anything above 20x zoom. As you can see here, at 20x on the Poco F8 Ultra, the Xiaomi 17T Pro and the 17T, they all actually perform relatively similarly. I do notice at 20x and possibly at 50x, the 17 Ultra does give slightly sharper photos, though not by a huge margin. Now, even the more affordable Xiaomi 17T is actually delivering similar zoom capabilities. It's almost like 80 to 90% of that on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. Now, the 17 Ultra actually shocked me in other areas, but when it comes to zoom, Xiaomi is apparently raising the standard for budget flagship, mid-range and flagship killers. Just one more shot confirming the zoom capabilities across the board, as we're having another one under broad daylight, though in an evenly lit scene. At 10x, before all the AI algorithms kick in, it's actually the native in-center zoom lossless range for the Xiaomi 17T, the T Pro and the F8 Ultra. All three of them here are actually performing relatively similarly. Now, the 17 Ultras actually delivered a photo with slightly more refined texture. Color depth and color reproduction are also superior here. At 20x as well, the photos is basically more contrasty and saturated to look at. Though at 20x, the algorithms on the 17T Pro, the 17T and the Poco actually played a major role upscaling the texture. I would say it's not all the way up there, though it's almost like comparable to the 17 Ultra. There's one major issue, should I say issue, a warm reminder here on the 17T, 17T Pro and the Poco, as we're having the 5x lens is jumping from 1x directly to 5x. We do have the extra flexibility here on the 17 Ultra, as we're having the 75 to 100mm zoomable telephoto lens. It's not a lot, though in my opinion it can be crucial to have something to cover the 70mm range. So for scenes like this, which you would normally want a 75mm look and feel for a tighter framing, but not overly tight, you can absolutely do that on the 17T, 17T Pro and the F8 Ultra using digital crop from the main sensor, but you'll definitely be getting a whole lot more texture and details using the telephoto camera on the 17 Ultra. Now switching to the 5x lens on the 17T, T Pro and the F8 Ultra. Right, this way we'll be looking at really similar level of details and sharpness across the board. Though I must say, as we're having a much larger 1/1.4 inch sensor on the 17 Ultra, it does help when it comes to color reproduction and color depth. As you can see here, we're definitely getting more shades of green on the 17 Ultra. What about low light performance on the telephoto camera? Once again, for scenes like this, I would definitely want the 75mm wider field of view, though not too wide. Once again, we're actually having an unfair test here. The 17 Ultras delivered a much sharper photo compared to the 17T Pro, the 17T and the F8 Ultra, as we're using the main camera sensor, using digital crop on the other three. Once again, once we've switched to the proper telephoto camera, and we're having slightly better contrast and more refined texture once again on the 17 Ultra, but the image quality across the other three is definitely plausible considering the price gap. However, we are indeed getting better lens quality and coating quality on the 17 Ultra. As for this particular one, we're essentially having no lens flare at all. In the meantime, the 17T and the 17T Pro definitely delivered slightly better lens flare suppression compared to the F8 Ultra. They could have upgraded the coatings here. Right, I do have some solid proof. Once again, the 17 Ultra is doing a really great job this year. The refraction of light is obviously better controlled here on the Ultra, while the 17T Pro and the 17T are not equally spectacular, though they're still doing a slightly better job compared to the F8 Ultra. Now, let's see how they handle extreme backlight scenes. This time around, we'll be looking into both lens flare control and dynamic range. Now, we're having the legendary 1-inch sensor with Low-Fic technology here on the 17 Ultra for the main camera, a 1/1.3-inch sensor across the Poco F8 Ultra and the 17T Pro. Normally speaking, we should be expecting wider dynamic range on larger sensors, and last but not least, we have a 1/1.55-inch sensor here on the T. Right, Xiaomi's absolutely nailed it on the 17 Ultra. As you can see here, it's the only phone which was able to get my face bright enough. The navy blue color of my t-shirt and the green color of my trousers were also really well preserved. Now, the second best would be the 17T Pro. It's delivering better lens flare control and slightly more advanced noise control in the shadows compared to the F8 Ultra. Now, the 17T's actually got marginally better lens flare control compared to the F8 Ultra, though the slightly smaller sensor here might have hindered its ability to brighten up a shadows area in situations like these. Now, the 17 Ultra with the low-vic tech on the main camera is actually one of the very few phones which I've tested which can do this. So it's not the other three doing poorly here, but the Ultra is really great. In the meantime, you can actually see color gradations better on the Xiaomi series. The more pronounced HDR effect here on the Poco definitely makes the photos look a bit more digitally processed. Speaking of colors and how they render the light, it can actually be what separates the Poco lineup and the Xiaomi lineup, as we've got the Leica Vibrant and Leica Authentic color profiles here on the Xiaomi lineup, which you might be familiar with. The key is, do they actually make a difference in day-to-day photography? Let's find out. Now, technically speaking, we should be getting more vibrant and saturated colors only using the Leica Vibrant mode, while more dramatic colors and increased contrast using the Leica Authentic mode. That's right, but that's apparently only part of the story. Like for this particular one, as it's a more evenly lit scene, the major difference here is indeed increased color saturation and brightness in the shadows area when using the Leica Vibrant profile. For scenes with more going on, however, like this particular one, HDR effect has definitely become more noticeable and pronounced across the Xiaomi series when using the Leica Vibrant mode. At the same time, it's actually really interesting to see the difference between the Leica Authentic and Vibrant mode on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra is actually greater than the rest of the Xiaomi series. It's almost like we're shooting on sort of a film camera here on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra when using the Leica Authentic mode. It's got a really unique color science which is not there on the Xiaomi 17T series. It could be the larger sensor on the main camera and the telephoto camera, or simply the imaging pipeline is also different. As you can see here, we're getting greater contrast and richer colors no matter which mode we're using on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. Now we've also got the film-like teal green color here on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra and the Xiaomi 17T series as well. When it comes to sea view shots in dusk hours, the pale blue sky and the reflection of that on the water. I have to say, however, the intensity of that particular color look is more pronounced here on the 17 Ultra. Now the Poco, I have to say the saturated colors do look pleasing to the eyes, though the more saturated colors and more pronounced HDR effect there on the Poco do make the photos look more like a photo coming out of a phone. A slightly elevated and moody look here on the 17T and the 17T Pro, but a truly cinematic look there on the 17 Ultra. You'll definitely be getting one of the most artistic looks on a smartphone camera if you're picking up the 17 Ultra, while Leica's touch and color science definitely there on the Xiaomi 17T series as well. Not as pronounced and intense as on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, though it's still there, which would definitely be better than that on the Poco F8 Ultra using Xiaomi's in-house color science. Moving on to low-light performance, the interesting bit here is, the more pronounced HDR effect and increased color saturation actually make night scenes like these pop and look a bit more vibrant when using the Leica Vibrant mode. Now, low-light performance across the board on the main camera is actually closer than expected, though if you look close enough, the 17T with a slightly smaller sensor on the main camera, it's got the highlights here slightly overexposed, while the T Pro and the F8 Ultra captured all the details there on the highlights. Now, the 17 Ultra, we can truly tell when it comes to dynamic range and HDR effect, the 17 Ultra is a major step up compared to the last gen 15 Ultra. It can be both the low-vic tech or simply the imaging pipeline again, as we're getting similar level of low-light performance across the board here, even down to noise control, overall brightness of the photo, and the level of details on the highlights and the shadows as well. In this case, we might have to push them further to the limit. Similar conclusion here, the Leica Vibrant profile on the Xiaomi series will be giving you a more vibrant and brighter photo for low-light scenes like these. Now, for some reasons, despite we're having the same sensor size across the Poco F8 Ultra and the Xiaomi 17T Pro, for the main camera, we're actually having a brighter photo here out of the Xiaomi 17T Pro. Noise control is also superior here compared to the F8 Ultra. Now, the 17 Ultra is definitely the best of the best here. Now, for scenes like these, you can actually tell the 17T is using a smaller sensor compared to the 17T Pro. The colors not as vibrant and the shadows not as bright. And once again, the 17 Ultra is delivering the best of the best color depth and light contrast. So to be fair, we're putting them side by side here if you're only having one phone. The 17T is delivering good enough and above average performance. We have bright enough photos and great noise control, sharp and vivid colors, even capturing a low-light scenes like these using the telephoto camera. Alright, portrait mode and portrait photography. It can actually be one of the major upgrades this year on a Xiaomi and Poco phone. We'll definitely be coming back to this in a minute, while here on the Xiaomi 17T Pro, the T and the F8 Ultra, due to the 5x lens and the software here, we're limited to just 1x, 2x and 5x for portrait photos. There's no way for us to pinch to zoom or slide to zoom whatsoever. On the contrary, here on the 17 Ultra, we can actually pinch to zoom or slide to zoom anything in between 1x, 2x, 3.2x and 4.3x, maximum to 6x. Now, in terms of the interpretation of colors, we do have Leica Portrait and Master Portrait mode here on the Xiaomi series. While switching it to Master Portrait will actually give you more balanced skin tone and more saturated colors, while they've totally nailed edge detection across the board, even on the Poco. And here's the major software change I've been talking about. They've finally added flash support for portrait mode. What does it truly mean in day-to-day photography? Well, sharp and bright portrait photos even when it comes to challenging scenes and backlight scenes like this. Now, even with the flash, we do have a brighter photo here on the Xiaomi 17T Pro compared to the 17T due to the larger sensor on the Pro variant, while the 17T Pro and the Poco is actually not far off even when compared to the 17 Ultra. Last but certainly not least, low-light portrait using the telephoto camera, we definitely cannot get even more challenging than that. Surprisingly, we're actually having really similar results across the Poco F8 Ultra, the Xiaomi 17T Pro and the T, while the 17 Ultra is absolutely the true king. So is Xiaomi really going to kill their own Ultra flagship here by launching a more affordable budget variant of it? Yes and no. In some ways, the 17T Pro is indeed almost as good as the 17 Ultra. Let's say if your top priority is capturing objects from afar, your main concerns being can the phone actually zoom far enough, take generally pleasing photos, bright enough photos with minimal digital noise even in low light scenes and night scenes, portrait photos with accurate edge detection. In that case, all the Poco F8 Ultra, the Xiaomi 17T and the T Pro will get the job done. Now, the 17T series offers the entire suite of Leica filters, and the Leica Vibrant and Authentic profile is definitely adding another layer of depth when it comes to color interpretation and light contrast compared to the F8 Ultra. And ultimately, when it comes to colors, color depth and the contrast of light, the Xiaomi 17 Ultra is absolutely killing it this year. Right, so that's basically it for photos. Now, video recording. This year, we're actually having 4K 120 on even the 17T Pro on the main camera, and 4K 120 on the 17 Ultra on both the main camera and the telephoto camera, while we'll be limited to just 4K 60 on both the Xiaomi 17T and the Poco F8 Ultra. Now, when it comes to zoom, we're actually having 30x here on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra as the maximum zoom range, 15 on the other three. It's also worth noticing here, we can actually switch between the three lenses across the three Xiaomis here, while recording 4K videos, not on the Poco. Now, low light performance and dynamic range for video are also better here on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. We'll definitely have to give some credit to the 1-inch sensor with the low-fig technology. We can definitely see the slightly washed out highlights and the noise in the shadows on the one shot on the 17T Pro. Now is a really challenging one as we're searching for the differences here. Now we're having it in descending order. The 17T is bright, noise control's alright, though the one shot on the Pro would be cleaner and more saturated. Finally, the Poco F8 Ultra. You will definitely be able to tell the difference if you're holding the 17 Ultra, the 17T Pro and the 17T. So after all, when it comes to photos and videos, we're basically having 4 different levels of performance here. The T Pro could be a great balance between the actual performance you're getting and your budget, while if budget is less of a concern for you, the 17 Ultra is definitely there on the top of our chart. So either the Poco F8 Ultra or the Xiaomi 17T Pro shouldn't exist at all. Or should they? Now, this is what I've found. The Poco F8 Ultras featuring the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, the exact same chip we've got on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. Well, we'll be looking at the Dimensity counterpart here on the Xiaomi 17T Pro, the Dimensity 9500 to be exact. And a slightly slower yet still capable Dimensity 8500 Ultra on the regular T. Right, the numbers here will definitely get you nowhere, but we may use it as a reference. The Poco F8 Ultra and the Xiaomi 17 Ultra is delivering performance closer to top-tier 2026 flagship phones which are using the same chip. The 17T Pro is basically on the same league, while the basic T is delivering performance closer to phones with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. And here I've run the same custom Antutu benchmark stress test. It's basically running Antutu benchmark version 11 4 times in a row, as each round takes up to around 15 minutes. It's basically a 1-hour-long stress test. Right, Xiaomi is doing great here across the board. Now, as we're having the 17T as the entry point, the T Pro is somewhere in the middle, closer to the 17 Ultra, and the Poco F8 Ultra is definitely the king when it comes to raw performance output. Alright, in the real world, I've actually tried editing 4K videos, multi-layer 4K videos on even the 17T using the LumaFusion app. Now, other than the smaller screen size here, the experience and the responsiveness of the system's actually smoother and snappier than expected. It's actually performing great even when it comes to serious gaming. Now, here I've got Genshin Impact running using maximum graphics and the highest resolution settings. It's quite fascinating to see even the 17T is delivering smooth and stable 60 FPS gaming experience. And here, the 17T Pro, now the Dimensity 9500's actually got one of the most powerful GPU on the market right now. Naturally, it delivers buttery smooth gaming experience here. And we have the mainstream and popular Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 here on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. I don't see the 8 Elite Gen 5 will be considered slow in the upcoming few years. With that said, Poco's actually utilizing the excessive power we've got on the chip. For games like Genshin Impact, we'll only be able to stick with 60 FPS by default. Though as you can see here on the Wild Boost game turbo window, the game now is actually running at 120 frames per second. Like how is basically the exclusive upscaling technology here only available on Xiaomi's Poco lineup. On this generation of Poco's Ultra phone, they actually allow us to switch on both Super Resolution, which basically upscale your game resolution from anything to 1.5K, alongside the 120 frames per second upscaling technology, so both of them we can have it all. Translation: games will look even sharper and smoother on the Poco F8 Ultra compared to even the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. And to wrap the whole package up, Xiaomi has given even the Poco F8 Ultra the entire suite of Xiaomi's Hyper AI, or the photo editing tools as well. Google Gemini is also there on all four of them. And last, to truly wrap things up, we definitely cannot skip the battery. Ironically, we're actually having the smallest battery on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. Don't get me wrong, that's already a massive cell at 6000 mAh, though apparently tech is evolving quite fast in Xiaomi's timeline, as we are now having a 6500 mAh cell on even the smallest model here across the board, the 17T. Same for the Poco F8 Ultra, and the numbers now reaching all the way up to 7000 mAh on the Xiaomi 17T Pro. Now, if it's not your first time encountering my channel, I do battery drain test from 100% all the way down to 0% with the same rundown on every phone that I'm going to test, and I'll be releasing an ultimate yearly mid-range phone comparison very soon. Definitely stay tuned for that. All in all, the best performance and the best camera, the 17 Ultra's got you covered. Decent camera, possibly 80% of that of the 17 Ultra, with Leica's touch and color science. The 17T Pro's built for you. Now, if gaming's your top priority, the Poco's got that gaming phone DNA there. And last, if you're on a budget and still prefer your phone to take photos that looks like it's coming out of a flagship phone, the Xiaomi 17T is delivering great value. Right, so that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe. See you all next time.